You have no idea who is standing around you dealing with a mental health condition, and there's shame.
It's okay to say, hey, I'm having a problem.
From generational trauma to addictions, to family issues, to divorce, to abuse, grief, death.
Honestly, it's pretty difficult. It's a touchy subject I didn't want to talk about.
I just want you to know that you can talk to me, and there's nothing you're gonna say to me that's gonna make me run away from you.
We're already seeing huge improvements.
We're normalizing therapy, and once we can do that, then we can bring more people to feel comfortable about opening up.
You will not get anywhere without other people. So why not now? Why not in the most critical moment of your life, when you're really struggling, when you're hurting?
From Channel 9 Eyewitness News, Charlotte's hidden crisis. There is help, there is hope. Now, Brittany Johnson and Scott Wickersham.
A student, a veteran, a therapist, and a mother.
The people you see here know the struggles of mental health, but they found something that can help them regain control of it. They're proof that there is help and there is hope for everyone.
And tonight is really about getting that help. If you don't know where to turn, let us help you figure it out. We have a group of volunteers here to connect you with mental health resources.
You're looking live right now as we are taking phone calls from people just like you. The number to reach these folks is 1-800-950-3739. It's a free phone call and it's anonymous. You don't have to give your name.
I was 10 years old. Yeah, I was in 4th or 5th grade when I first got on Instagram. That's the
Jack Mishy's social media accounts ballooned from there. The Myers Park senior says by the time he started high school, he was on Twitter, Facebook, and Snapchat too.
I wanted to be seen as, happy, as popular. I was tracking how many likes I was getting, how many followers I had, who unfollowed me. When I was caring about all of these superficial things, I consider that an addiction.
Mishy says that addiction eventually led to an eating disorder.
I had this vision in my head of what the perfect body looked like, and I wanted to, achieve that. And I trace it back to social media.
He turned to Teen Health Connection for therapy and decided to try a social media cleanse. He told me after a week with no logging on, he deleted his accounts.
My recovery from my eating disorder happened the same time when I deleted social media, and that definitely helped the process go by so much, easier.
It's a very, very low effort, high reward activity.
Melanie Hempy is a nurse and mother. She's also the founder of a nonprofit called Families Managing Media. She says too much time on social media has negative effects on a teenager's brain.
But what's happening in their brain is that limbic area in their brain, that midbrain section, the emotion center is being highly stimulated. Well, that's not so great because the cost for that is the less attention, if you will, to the other areas of the brain that we really need to develop, like the frontal cortex. Then your child is going to become more stressed and more anxious and more depressed.
Don't open that yogurt.
To prevent all of that, Candace Salamone and her husband decided their kids would not have cell phones.
We call ourselves a screen-strong family, and we just value relationships over electronics.
15-year-old John Michael and 13-year-old Annabella told me all of their classmates have social media accounts.
At this point, as a 10th grader, almost everyone has a phone.
But neither of them do.
It can be hard sometimes. Like, I've had bad birthday party experiences where everyone's just on their phones and it's not pleasant.
We believe that if you develop skills to talk to people and interact with people, you'll be able to be a good citizen when it is time that you need to use a device as a tool.
It might surprise you to hear that John Michael and Annabella actually understand and accept their parents' no phone, no social media rules.
You don't feel like you're missing out?
Not at all. Not at all.
Experts say because teenagers aren't likely to responsibly limit their screen time, parents must do it for them. Jack Mishy hopes his personal struggle sends a message to other teens who get hooked on likes and shares. His best advice, ask this before your next post.
Active. Are you posting because you're passionate about what you're showing, or you are it's a memory that you're cherishing, or is it because of status and recognition? And if it's the latter, then, you know, I would suggest taking some time off or a break.
We like that phrase, screen strong. It's really something parents need to think about, yeah, and there are warning signs that a child is spending too much time on social media.
Yeah, if you're not sure, ask yourself this: is social media or your child's phone the only thing that puts them in a good mood? Do they get upset if you take it away? Or are they hiding it or even using secret passwords? There are some more helpful questions that can help you figure out your individual situation, and we've put them on the WSOC app.
Knowledge is power. Now, if you need help to find mental health resources near you, you can call our volunteers. These are live images there, our phone bank. These people can help you find therapy for everyday issues or immediate resources for someone who might be suicidal. The number is there on your screen, 1-800-950-3739. And you might ask yourself, do I really know the warning signs if someone I know is suicidal?
Suicide is rarely an impulsive act, and research shows that most people who attempt it, they do give some warning signs. It may be a direct verbal clue with a comment like, "I wish I were dead." But many times it's indirect, and it could be something like, "I just want out."
Also, behavior can be a real tip-off there. If someone suddenly buys a gun or gives away their prized possessions, or this one might sound strange, but they suddenly become very happy after a long bout with depression. That could be a sign they are seriously considering suicide because they've made a choice. They can get happy. Now, if someone is struggling, don't turn them away. You need to let them know you're there for them.
Absolutely. We asked a therapist who's gone through his own mental health challenges what you could say to reassure someone.
They're not alone in that, and there's nothing that you could have done or are doing now that's irredeemable. And there's nothing you're going to say to me that's going to make me run away from you.
And we have posted more of the warning signs and the information about what to do on the WSOC app.
Welcome back. One thing we really want to focus on tonight is access to care for everyone. Unlike your regular doctor's office, many mental health professionals don't take insurance. They expect you to pay out of pocket.
And even when they do take insurance, you may have trouble paying. So Action 9 investigator Jason Stujenki spent weeks finding and vetting clinics for you that are free and or close to it.
I had no clue what the teariness, the sadness, the lethargy, not until I was in college did I realize I'm not well. And by junior year of college, I just fell apart.
Beth Purdy turned to one of her church leaders for help.
She called a few doctors. Nobody was taking patients. Nobody was available. So we finally talked a man out of retirement to come back and treat me that way. And
Purdy says she improved for a decade or so.
Happy marriage, great children, and I was falling apart. The bottom was suicidal. I didn't want to live. I remember being in the chair looking at the babies, looking at the boys, thinking, y'all would be better off without me.
Fortunately, Purdy was able to afford help, but others...
It's hard enough with an income and an insurance card to go get help. It's extremely difficult when you do not have insurance.
So here's what I found. Presbyterian Psychological Services takes most insurance except Medicaid or Medicare. It has sliding scale fees and now offers free help to all first responders. Alexander Youth Network helps anyone as young as 3 years old up to 21. It takes Medicaid, but also has a sliding scale. Quality Home Care Services and Novant Health, Michael Jordan Family Clinic take patients with or without insurance. The services aren't necessarily free, but the clinics won't turn you away if you can't pay. And then there's Promise Resource Network.
All of our services are 100% free.
Robert Barnes works for PRN and says it's easy to get an appointment or just walk in.
Oftentimes, individuals are served right away. Occasionally, there may be 10, 15 minutes of a wait. Anybody can come in and we can kind of meet them where they're at to try to figure out how we can navigate their individual journey of wellness and recovery and helping them find their resilience.
Hey, hope. I mean, that we all want hope.
Purdy has been doing well the last 10 or 12 years. She's a mental health advocate now, encouraging people to seek help and pushing for more resources, affordable resources.
There's just not enough places. And we're seeing more and more people unable to get help, and then they just sort of collapse inwards and don't know where to go. And it is only going to get worse. The mental illness becomes destructive when you do not treat it.
So now I told you about 5 free or at least low-cost options. I researched the services they offer, and it's safe to say they all cover therapy, substance abuse, and eating disorders.
Thank you, Jason. If you want to look through local mental health service providers on your own, Channel 9 has a list of phone numbers and websites. It's very convenient. We've divided this down county by county. It's all under the Mental Health Resources page on the WSOC News app.
If you're hesitant to open up, and we are back with another episode, help may be a podcast away. Do couples come to you with these concerns? How therapists who sound like friends are reaching people facing all sorts of issues.
The joy of her life came with paralyzing depression.
I just wanted to cry and get in bed and just stop.
How she found balance.
Take a moment here and breathe.
And learned to manage postpartum depression.
Welcome back. A live look at our volunteers here at Channel 9 tonight, taking your calls, connecting you with all of our mental health resources. We've got a cool story to tell you about. Earlier tonight, a woman called in to one of these volunteers and told them that she reached out to this same phone bank the first time we did this 6 months ago. And she said our helpline is what connected her to a therapist that she still sees today. She says she's doing much better, and making that phone call was the first step. Maybe you could make your first step tonight. It's anonymous, it's free. What could it hurt? The number 1-800-950-3739.
And just incredible to see that each and every person in that room right now is on the phone.
Yeah.
Keep calling, they're here for you.
Oh, you need more jingle bells.
Teresa Kinter loves making Christmas decorations with her 2-year-old son, Roman. She was excited to be a mother, which is why she was shocked at how she felt days after Roman was born, detached and scared.
Panic attacks so much that just like I felt ringing in my ears. I didn't really want to be around anybody. I felt scared and I wasn't sure why.
She was diagnosed with postpartum depression and started taking Xanax and antidepressant medication. They worked, but eventually she wanted to get off that medication and back to her old self. But how?
Reach those arms up overhead, open wide.
She got back to being her old self by being one with her whole self.
Take a moment here and breathe into the solar plexus.
And learning to breathe again. Teresa joined this class at the Brace YMCA in Matthews. It's called Yoga for Addiction, Recovery, and Mental Health. Yoga therapist Liz Belzer invited me to her yoga mat to explain how she helped Teresa.
In Teresa's case, we work a lot with an elongated exhale. So that lengthening of the exhale activates the parasympathetic nervous system response, which helps to bring your body and your mind into a place of calm and feeling very grounded.
Teresa explained to me how she can focus her breathing to fight off a panic attack with alternate nostril breathing.
Which really helps me, and it's taking in air from one side, exhaling, and then doing it from the other side and exhaling. And it just kind of gives you a second to just breathe deeply.
And exhale.
No one here will claim those battling depression or anxiety should not talk to their doctor or counselor. But as Belzer puts it, this is just another tool in the path to good mental health.
You start to turn on the part of the brain that goes, okay, I'm good here. Different kinds of poses that help to create a sense of confidence at the same time creating that calm.
Can we kiss?
Calmness that now allows Teresa to enjoy every moment with her son this Christmas.
Yes. Yay! High five? Oh, yeah!
Sweeties.
Yeah, me and Josh, we're clapping along for him, a cute little boy. Now, the Brace YMCA offers that class every Monday. If you're not a member but you want to join, they do offer rates based on income.
And if you can't get to a workout class, our friends at Running Work say just get moving however you can.
You don't have to spend $1 to reap the benefits of physical activity. Doing small things, even walking around the block, just getting yourself moving. And we really stress that again with our population. We're working with homeless people, just getting them moving. We say running works, walking works, whatever works.
That's because exercise releases endorphins, those brain chemicals that affect your mood. Outdoor activities like hiking and skiing have been shown to reduce the symptoms of PTSD. And a Harvard University study found that running just 15 minutes a day can reduce the risk of major depression by 26%.
Your death has severe implications to other people, far greater than you can ever understand in your moment. The impact that we can make getting through the other side, you are worth it.
Yeah, you are worth it. That simple statement is an incredibly powerful message, and that one from a veteran who attempted suicide twice while battling PTSD.
And while others saw his success, his medals, recognition, other honors, he fought the battle inside of his mind alone. And he sat down with John Paul to share his story and encourage others to accept help.
I had hair then.
Tommy Riemann always knew that he would join the military, but he didn't know just how far it would take him. 2003, Riemann and 7 other soldiers dropped off behind enemy lines in Iraq.
And we felt like this was our response to 9/11. This was our response to defend our country, protect our freedom.
He was in the thick of battle at 23.
It's a day I'll never forget. I just hear these loud explosions, and it happens so fast.
Perhaps the only person to tell this story better would be President George W. Bush. This was the 2007 State of the Union address.
In December 2003, he was on a reconnaissance mission in Iraq when his team came under heavy enemy fire. He was shot in the chest and arm and received shrapnel wounds to his legs, yet he refused medical attention. He helped to repel a second attack, firing grenades at the enemy's position. For his exceptional courage, Sergeant Riemann was awarded the Silver Star. He has earned the respect and the gratitude of our entire country.
The president said my name.
He was a national hero. It was the high point in his life.
And so I came off of a really high peak thinking this was the most amazing thing. Obviously, there was a ton of media around it, and it was a really unique experience. But at the end of the day, I still felt empty.
Riemann would later find out he was suffering from severe PTSD, but he buried those feelings and pushed on. Now, he even had his own action figure and starred in a video game, but he was miserable.
I grabbed my rifle. It was locked and loaded.
But a friend walked in just in time and stopped him. The Army made him see a doctor, but he says he didn't really want the help. And when he came back home, he got into his truck and tried again.
I got up to speed, so about 70. And as I started to impact the tree, I'd close my eyes.
Miraculously, he wasn't even hurt, but that moment is the one he realized he needed serious help. A friend asked him to see an expert. He was hesitant, but underwent 47 days of intense therapy and rehab. His message: there are people, friends, family, and organizations that want to help you. You just have to let them.
You will not get anywhere without other people. So why not now? Why not in the most critical moment of your life, when you're really struggling, when you're hurting?
Like I told you 6 weeks ago when we met.
Tommy Riemann now helps other vets through the Veterans Bridge Home. They connect veterans with local resources so they too can get the help they need. His advice for those struggling like him:
there's a lot going on. You're running a business.
Open up to anyone who will listen about what you're going through.
But vulnerability is the key. Be willing to get hurt. But that's the only way you're going to grow. Like, we need to be vulnerable enough to air out some of our baggage.
Be willing, be vulnerable. There's just so much more to that conversation. We do want to give you an opportunity to hear all of it. We've put together an extended cut of that interview on our WSOC app.
Now, Tommy Riemann's struggle is not unique, sadly. 17 veterans die by suicide every day. The VA calls veteran suicide prevention their top clinical priority.
Veterans are at a higher risk for suicide than the average person, but the need for suicide prevention, it is so great across the board that federal regulators are now changing how you reach crisis centers.
Soon, all you'll have to dial is 988 to reach the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. For now, though, you still have to dial that 10-digit number, which is 1-800-273-TALK.
And here at Channel 9, we have a live look at the volunteers. They are taking your calls right now, connecting you with local mental health resources. You can call 1-800-950-3739 to speak to someone confidentially and for free.
There are many options if you're looking for help, and therapy is one of them. But sometimes people write that off, thinking that's only for a serious diagnosis of mental illness.
A local group of Charlotte therapists are working to break down that idea, normalize therapy, make it more accessible. I got an inside look at how they're using technology to do it and reach more people.
What's good? At first glance, this just looks like a room full of friends, catching up, cracking jokes. I have to cut them off because they are clowning.
But listen for a few more seconds.
This is your girl, Kevon.
Dr. Anthony Andrews, a licensed professional counselor.
Hey y'all, this is Dr. Sheree Watkins, licensed professional counselor.
Dr. Phil Murray, board certified in adult and child psychiatry.
And these doctors start discussing serious topics.
This is a conversation that I think has been blossoming in the Black community.
This is The Charting Room.
We are back with another episode.
A podcast named after the charting rooms where doctors debrief. It was therapist Kevon King's idea to gather therapists for casual conversations to draw a wider audience into the world of wellness. Dr. Andrews and the others jumped on board.
People are really gravitating to the idea that, okay, this is normal. And we're normalizing therapy, and we're kind of facing the stigma, the negative stigma associated with it.
Always feel free to reach out.
They're recording their second season now. Topics range from how to find a therapist to burnout, pop culture, race, even TV shows that showcase the impact that trauma, poverty, and other real-life issues have on our mental health. Who would you say is the target audience for the charting room?
It is our millennials. They are the young people who are actually in the throes of making change.
Dr. Sheree Watkins knows seeking help can be hard. She walked us through the traumatic experience that led her to therapy.
I'm a survivor myself. I was date raped, and so I didn't understand why that happened to me. And it took me a while to really get to a place of wanting to work through being a survivor of sexual assault.
It was a turning point.
How all those was making me make unhealthy decisions with weight management, having bouts of depression, being a very high scholastic overachiever, and utilizing that as my way to cope. In these women ministries
and she realized she could help people connect the dots in their lives and transform the way she had through therapy. Now her main clients are millennial women, and the questions they bring to her couch may surprise you. I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. That's a reason to see a therapist.
Yes. Everybody thinks they have to have a diagnosis. They always think about what we call the severe and profound mental illnesses, such as schizophrenia, bipolar, depression, anxiety. Some come in with just day-to-day issues.
Dr. Andrews says this shows public perception is trending in the right direction. His clients range from 3 to 90 years old, but he still believes more people could benefit from therapy. You know how you go to the doctor for a physical? Well, he suggests a mental wellness check.
I call them oil changes. So if you have a Ferrari outside or if you have a Honda outside, they both need oil changes. They both need checkups. And their mental health checkup is just as important as a physical, just as important as anything else you can do.
And it's easier than ever to connect thanks to technology. Dr. Watkins and many other therapists are trained in teletherapy, helping people through text messages, Skype, email.
Now, let's dig in.
And with each download, the charting room is catching on. Listeners are requesting topics.
Some tough topics such as imposter syndrome, a lot dealing with racism in the workplace.
They're hoping people who are hesitant to seek help will ease in and start here.
We are the charting room.
The charting room's most popular episode is how to find a therapist.
There you go.
A big help for people that are taking their first step.
They also recommend sites to help people search for a local therapist. One is Psychology Today.
A startling number of local middle and high school students say they have seriously considered suicide. In Mecklenburg County, 1 in 5 have, according to a report earlier this year.
Getting children to talk about this is tough, but a group of Huff High School students have started that conversation. Elsa Gillis met with them back in the spring. She went back to see the difference they're now making.
How many of y'all would know from looking at me that I have depression?
In a very candid conversation.
Because of that depression, 24 years ago, I almost died by suicide.
Mental health advocate Fonda Bryant spoke to a group of Huff High freshmen about mental illness and well-being.
If you don't mind, every 5th person, I want you to stand up for me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Stand up for me, young man. 1 out of 5 youth have a mental health condition. 1 out of 5 adults. So look around you right now.
What you see here is just one example of how this school is tackling an issue that for many students and adults is incredibly challenging.
How hard is it to talk about this stuff? Honestly, it's pretty difficult. It's a touchy subject.
I feel like it's that fear of like you feeling like you're the only one.
I think it's really difficult to talk about because it's so real.
Mental health has trended to be one of our largest focus.
School counselor Dana Woolard says that's because the school started seeing a bigger need for support services.
Maybe 3 years ago was where we saw a shift. It was just a really hard year. We were just seeing just a multitude of kids just in crisis, struggling.
She says the school is also hyper aware of the reality of teen suicide, having lost 3 students over the years.
For us, we're always on alert as a result because, you know, with our Sources program.
She's talking about Sources of Strength, a student-led youth suicide prevention project, now in its 2nd year at Huff. This wheel, painted on school walls, highlights their priorities, from encouraging positive relationships to finding a trusted adult to talk to. Students told me they've seen a big culture shift because of it.
And this year we're already seeing like huge improvements.
We're very open, so we've got other students to come in and like kind of start that conversation so it's not as awkward or...
I was embarrassed to acknowledge that I was struggling with an issue or I was going through something. So having Sources of Strength really opened up that conversation.
And Woolard says Huff has fewer suicide risk assessments this year.
A lot of times they are on the front line with their peers, and if they notice something on social media, if they have a friend that is expressing certain things to them, they will come to us directly.
The school created this Zen Den for students who need a moment away from class, and teachers are offered their own emotional support. All of these steps.
How many of y'all say this word all the time or call somebody this all the time? Be honest.
Including this talk, are focused on erasing the stigma around mental health.
We are going through like the toughest years of our lives, kind of. We're trying to become an adult. It's so important to know that it's okay to not to be okay.
While Sources of Strength seems to be making a big difference at Huff, it's in just 4 CMS schools. The optional program costs up to $7,500 a year. In most cases, the district and the school each pay half. But a CMS rep tells me the district simply doesn't have enough money to pay for it in every middle and high school.
Now, these students are not just doing this in their own school.
No, they are going into local middle schools, local elementary schools, all to get these conversations started even earlier.
There's a quick online screening tool that you can use to determine if you or a loved one needs help. The tests are all broken down into categories like depression or addiction. You can take the test and then learn more about treatment options near you. We've posted a link to all the tests in the WSOC app.
And remember that if you need to talk with someone to get connected to mental health resources near you, call our phone bank at 1-800-950-3739. Those volunteers will be accepting calls on the helpline until 9 o'clock tonight. And when our phone lines close, you can still use our county by county resource guide anytime. It is in the mental health resources page on our app.
And again, take down this number. It's good for anyone to have, 1-800-273-TALK. That's the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. This is active 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Someone will answer. Call it if you or someone you know is in crisis and needs help now.
Here at Channel 9, we hope this program in some way spoke to you.
I'm so glad you joined us tonight. Hopefully you were inspired to get help or to ask a friend or a loved one if they're suffering.
And remember, there is help. There is hope. Good night.